Can I start by saying this? I never called her the Flanders mare. That's a later attribution to me, and it's completely wrong. It makes me seem very unkind, and I wasn't. All I said to Cromwell was, "She pleaseth me not. She pleaseth me not." 4 words. That's all. And it's been blown up out of all proportion. But to understand my reaction to her, you have to understand the beginning of our tale. And it goes like this. You see, after the death of Jane, I was bereft. I really didn't know where my next wife was coming from. I didn't know whether I was going to even bother with another wife. I had my son, and that was good enough for me. But it was Cromwell who came to me and said, "Sire, you must marry again, for we have an heir, but we need a spare." 2 sons, you see. So the next wife I was to choose, I didn't choose really for me. I chose her for you. I'd been without a woman for 3.5 years, and I was getting used to the idea. Now, we all thought, first off, that it would be Christina of Denmark, the Duchess of Milan. She's someone that slipped out of history, really. Christina was a very beautiful, very lovely woman. I wanted her to come across and be my queen, and I wrote her the most elegant letter. "My dear Christina, come to England, join the royal family, be my wife, rule this glorious country with me." And she wrote back and she said, "My lord, if I had 2 heads, one would be entirely at your disposal." I mean, cheeky mare. It wasn't going well, was it? And then one of my ambassadors to the Low Countries, I think it was Bobby Barnes, he came back, all of a fluster, about, my lord, I found her. And I sat him down and I said, "Who is it, Bobby?" And he told me the story of this 24-year-old Protestant girl, at least from a Protestant family. She was a duchess from the Duchy of Cleves. Her sisters had boys, first time of asking, lots of boys in the family. The family was rich. They were keen to get her into the English family. So between us, the council sat down and we asked for a record-breaking sum. We asked for 140,000 crowns. No country had ever paid that much in a dowry. So they were very keen to have their daughter come into England. The money arrived. Cromwell and his computers got counting. But she didn't come for 3 months. It took her all this time. There were bad weather in the Channel and some sort of problem in her long trek from Dusseldorf to Calais. Finally, she arrived at Rochester Castle. Now, I have to say, at this stage, I hadn't met her. I was going on a portrait painted by Hans Holbein, my court artist. Very clever man. He painted 400 subjects during my reign, and they were all lifelike. They were all beautiful. The pictures of me, stunning, absolutely stunning. He captured me perfectly. So I did tend to trust a Holbein, and he had been sent off to paint her. In fact, I asked him to paint her sister as well, just in case I didn't like one or the other. And he returned, not with a big portrait that you could see every detail of her face and figure, but with a miniature. 2 inches by 3 inches. And I thought, well, this is nonsense for a start. It's too small to see. The crucial fact in all of this was that he'd painted her face on. He hadn't painted her in profile, which was a la mode at the time. If he had, I might have seen the size on her beak and I might never have agreed to the marriage. But let's put that aside for the moment. She had been taken to Rochester Abbey and I was in London. I was waiting for her to come, so desperate to meet her. I'd had this little locket at the side of my bed for months, and I'd been praying to God that she would turn up. I decided to go down to Rochester and meet her. Now, I'm breaking with convention, but it wasn't unheard of. When Catherine of Aragon had arrived in England, my father had ridden down to the coast to meet her. So it wasn't such a break from tradition, but it was, shall we say, a novel way of doing things. So we rode hard down from London, It's a good day's ride to get there, 2 changes of horses. On the way, I thought this, she's coming to England to meet a man she's never met. She knows me from my portrait, of course, the most powerful king in all of Christendom. How would it be if I played a little trick on her, if I disguised myself so that when I met her, she wouldn't necessarily know it was me, and then she might fall in love with me for my other attributes. So that's what I did. I disguised myself as a minstrel, I remember it clearly, and burst into her chamber singing Hey Nonny Nonny or some such, expecting her to fall in love with my beautiful tenor voice and my incredible calves on my legs, the best calves you've ever seen. And she ignored me. She carried on looking out of the window at a bear baiting contest and didn't give me a second glance. Well, I was furious about this. One of my equerries who spoke German said to her, Fräulein ist der König, he's the king. She flew to my side, regretting, of course, her terrible faux pas. And I remember tilting up her head to look into the limpid pools of her blue eyes. And I thought there and then, I am not having any of that. I kissed her on the cheek. I went back to London. I got Cromwell out of bed and I told him how I felt. And I said, Crum, she smells funny. And he said, well, that's because they don't wash as we do, sire. I said, she dresses poorly. And I said, yes, because that's because they have a different way of dressing than us. All these different things conspired against her. But I said to him, I will marry. And the principal reason for that was that he had spent the dowry already. We couldn't send the money back. The deal was done. Find me a loophole. And he found it. He discovered that she'd been promised in marriage to the son of the Duke of Lorraine when she was a toddler. Now, the marriage had never taken place. Of course it hadn't. But the contract for the marriage had never been broken, which meant that her marriage to me was illegal and we could simply create a divorce settlement and walk away from it. The crucial thing in the divorce settlement was well weighed in her favour. She was given Richmond Palace, she was given lots of houses all over the country, she was given riches, was that she should become the king's sister, retain her rank in the royal family, and never go home to Dusseldorf. That was the key. She never went back. She stayed in our country. Initially, when I met her, she spoke no English. Within months, she'd started to learn English. I'd started to speak her language as well. She'd started to bathe. She dressed a little better. She became an asset to this country because when, foolishly, I then married my fifth wife, she became such a close friend that she spent more time with us as my sister than she did when she was the queen for those brief 6 months. A clever woman, much maligned in history. Why was she clever? Because when I presented her with a divorce document, she didn't even waver. She signed it immediately because she knew what was good for her. She pleaseth me not. That's all I said. But at the end, she did please me.